Hello and welcome to the first of 4 live broadcasts from Zero Waste Scotland, all centering on what's happening in COP26, which of course is now well underway. A couple of days in now to the conference happening in Glasgow, and we're going to be sharing updates from the event and bringing to life our message to Scotland, which from Zero Waste Scotland we want to say we need to talk about consumption. So to truly end our contribution to the climate crisis, we need to rethink how we consume in Scotland and around the world.
Scotland and other parts of the world have declared a climate emergency. Global emissions are destroying our planet, and if we carry on as we are, it's going to get worse. If we're serious about ending our contribution to climate change, we need to rethink how we consume, both here in Scotland and around the world. And that's something all of us need to be involved in.
We need a system-wide change that enables us all to choose more sustainable ways to live, use the things we need, and share resources. This is what's known as a circular economy. Through it, we can maximise value from the goods we already have in circulation, while relieving pressure on finite natural materials like oil and precious metals. We know that adapting to a circular economy can and does work for everyone, delivering an improved bottom line for business and offering a more sustainable way of life for citizens. Zero Waste Scotland is working with communities and businesses across Scotland, helping to reimagine the way we live, work and travel. By working together, we have a huge opportunity to accelerate our circularity and to change Scotland and the world for the better.
Each of us has a vital role to play in tackling climate change, and it starts now.
Okay, so at the conference today, our Chief Executive Ian Gulland has actually been taking part in a side event called Zero Waste Experiences with a range of other panellists, including panellists from the Turkish Ministry of Environment and Urbanisation, our very own Scottish Environmental Protection Agency, and a UNDP representative as well. Now, with Scotland being one of the pioneering and most successful countries in the concept of zero waste, the debate brought questions on a range of different topics around that subject, including the role of zero waste practices in combating climate change, the contribution of different zero waste practices in achieving our sustainable development goals, different collection system practices and activities, pricing activities for plastic bags, and approaches to raising public awareness. All these different things were covered. So it sounds like a really interesting debate. Right, so let's take a look at what else has been happening at COP26 over the last few days. So our fantastic PR team at Zero Waste Scotland have always got their finger on the pulse. They've helpfully pulled together a summary of the latest news, what agreements have been reached, what progress has been made. So we're now on day 3 of COP. It's the most vital climate change summit of our lifetimes, and they're over. Okay, I'm going to just run that again. Sorry. Okay. So let's take a look at what else has been happening at COP26 over the last few days. So our PR team at Zero Waste Scotland always got their finger on the pulse. They've pulled together a great summary of the different news, what agreements have been reached, what progress has been made. So we're going to look at that just now. So world leaders have pledged to cut methane emissions by 30% by 2030 as part of the efforts to tackle the climate crisis. So we all know methane is a really potent greenhouse gas, many times more potent in the atmosphere than CO2 is. So the Global Methane Pledge is an international initiative put forward by the US and the EU to reduce methane emissions, which is a really effective way to slow warming in the short term. So very welcome news on that. The EU has announced a new £1 billion fund to finance climate innovation, and through it they aim to get new climate technologies to the market faster. So it'd be interesting to see what comes out from that. Jeff Bezos, of course, from Amazon, has pledged $2 billion to tackle deforestation in Africa, which is a very welcome announcement. The funding, which will come from the Bezos Earth Fund, is part of the billionaire's commitment to spend $10 billion on fighting climate change this decade. Good to see. So research from the University of Melbourne suggests that the COP26 emissions pledges may now limit global heating to below 2 degrees. That's just fresh out this afternoon. And finally, movie star Leonardo DiCaprio was mobbed when he went and visited Q Science's carbon garden on Monday evening. So quite a few celebrities actually being spotted around about for COP in Glasgow, Leonardo DiCaprio being one of them. But notably, the topic of consumption still hasn't made it to the table, and that's really been Zero Waste Scotland's kind of key focus in the run-up to COP. You may have noticed if you follow our social media channels or the press releases we've been putting out, it's all been focused on consumption in the run-up to COP, because we feel that consumption and our consumption of materials and resources is an enormous contributor to all of the energy and the transportation and all the things that we use that are actually driving our climate emissions. So yeah, we're saying that we want to decarbonise all these things like energy and transport, but if we consumed more responsibly, we wouldn't incur half of those emissions in the first place. So to really end our contribution to the climate crisis, Zero Waste Scotland believes we need to rethink how we consume in Scotland and around the world. Around 4/5 of Scotland's carbon footprint comes from the materials and products that we manufacture, use and often throw away after just one use. From food to fashion, from travel to technology, we need to find ways to reduce the amount of materials that we use. Now, Zero Waste Scotland is playing a leading role in the country's efforts to tackle climate change, to reduce our consumption of raw materials and help transition the nation to a more circular economy where the materials and products that we use are kept in a high value state for as long as possible. It's not take, make, dispose, bury stuff straight in the ground. We want to keep that stuff in use for as long as possible, and at the end of its life make it back into something new. Now, Zero Waste Scotland has groundbreaking research and case studies showing the issues of consumption, carbon emissions and the priority that has in the climate change response. So the main theme actually at COP today is mobilising public and private finance flows at scale for mitigation and adaptation. So basically they're talking about how do we pay for fixing the climate crisis. Now, at the heart of adaptation, we need businesses and innovators to look at new, exciting and most importantly impactful ways to tackle the climate crisis. Now, the circular economy is at the heart of this response, and we at Zero Waste Scotland are investing £18 million in grant funding to small to medium-sized enterprises who are helping to create a more circular economy. Right? So what is a circular economy? It's an economy which is sustainable and eliminates waste as much as possible. It's an alternative to our current take, make, dispose economy, and it means that products and materials, the things that we use and buy, are kept in a high value state for as long as possible. The Circular Economy Investment Fund seeks to support work that will deliver circular economy growth, and we're delighted to share some examples now of leading Scottish companies who've benefited from that fund to help their business grow. But before we do, we're going to hear from one of the key staff members at Zero Waste Scotland that leads on that fund. He's going to tell us why it's important, how he plays a key role in Scotland's ambitions to tackle the climate emergency.
I'm Andrew Dixon. I manage the Circular Economy Investment Fund for Zero Waste Scotland. The Circular Economy Investment Fund is our ERDF funded grant programme. The programme is designed to support innovative SMEs in Scotland with new technologies, processes and business models that they want to commercialise. Since 2016, we've invested in over 66 projects. Those projects have received more than £12 million in grant funding and will create more than 300 new jobs. More significantly, those projects will deliver in excess of 68,000 tonnes per annum in carbon savings as we transition and move towards net zero.
Now, these are just 3 examples of Scottish businesses that are harnessing the Circular Economy Investment Fund to drive innovation and a circular economy here in Scotland. For more information on this and other funding delivered by Zero Waste Scotland, including our Recycling Innovation Fund, please visit www.zerowastescotland.org.uk/funding. Alright, now back to COP26, and as part of our live broadcasts, we've actually been out and about around Glasgow to get a flavour of opinions on the climate crisis, on consumption, and about COP26 in general. People make Glasgow, they say, and here's what the people of Glasgow had to say.
I think they should spend that money on actual people that are trying to make a change in climate change.
I think it should go towards businesses that are at the forefront of change.
I would recommend that money went towards local business, animal rights and things like that, because anything that supports animal rights, certain businesses definitely, to support the climate change. So yeah, that's it.
I think that's quite a big question, and I guess I would say I'm really not that knowledgeable about it, but I think pledging and then guaranteeing that you give that money, it's already been demonstrated that there have been pledges to give the poorer nations of this world money to then bring them up to speed with how they can then combat climate change, and that hasn't happened with our governments yet. They've pledged all this billions of pounds or dollars, whatever, and it's not gone. So these pledges that have been made, they have to be absolutely guaranteed so that the real action can happen.
That's a good amount, and that could do a lot. If it's for the whole of Europe, I would say there's 2 things I would say. I think transport is vitally important. I'm here as a doctor. I'm a child health doctor. We're particularly concerned about air pollution. There's massive air pollution in the cities of Europe, and there needs to be big spending on public transport, particularly to make it free in cities, then everybody would use it. The second thing I think is to support youth movements, because basically the youth are the direction in relation to the climate. They know what needs to be done and they know how to do it. So I would like to see funding to support youth movements to have some staff to get them help them to move faster.
Well, that's all we've got time for today, though there's still plenty of updates and resources that are available from Zero Waste Scotland on the topics of consumption, on COP26 and on tackling the climate crisis. So make sure you visit our content hub. That's at zerowastescotland.org.uk/COP26. You can also follow us on social media. All the links are added to the description and comment sections. And if you have any questions or you want to feature in one of our future broadcasts, reach out and give us a shout. For now, thank you for joining us, stay safe, and we'll see you next time.